New tech, new results, and a discovery nobody saw coming. Skinwalker Ranch, Season 7, Episode 11, On the Radar, starts right now. Welcome back, everyone. Every episode, this ranch keeps surprising us, and tonight might be the biggest surprise yet. Let's jump straight into it. For years now, this show has introduced us to all kinds of strange corners of Skinwalker Ranch, but there's one part of this property that's always felt just a little different. Not something you can dig for. Not something you can fence off. Something that exists above the land itself, in the air, in the sky, in a space that's almost impossible to study using the usual tools this team relies on. It's known simply as the bubble, and tonight, in Season 7, Episode 11, titled On the Radar, the team finally takes a serious crack at understanding it. If you're new to this show, or if it's been a while since the bubble came up, here's the quick version. This is a term the team has used to describe a mysterious, anomalous atmospheric zone that sits over a specific part of the ranch. It's not visible in any normal sense. You can't point a camera at it and see a shimmer in the air. You can't walk up to it and feel a change in temperature. Whatever it is, it exists in a way that stayed just out of reach of the equipment this team has used in the past. And that's exactly why this episode matters so much. Because tonight, they bring in something new. Something built specifically to detect what regular cameras and sensors simply can't. That something is Doppler radar. Now, if the phrase Doppler radar makes you think of a weather forecast on the evening news, you're on the right track. Because that's essentially the same underlying technology, just aimed at a completely different kind of target. Doppler radar is designed to detect movement in the atmosphere, tracking how objects or particles move through the air by measuring changes in the radar waves that bounce back. Meteorologists use it constantly to track storms, rain, and wind patterns. But on Skinwalker Ranch, the team isn't tracking a storm. They're aiming this technology directly at the bubble, hoping it can finally reveal something about this zone that no other equipment has been able to capture. Think about how significant this shift really is. Every tool this team has used before tends to rely on some kind of direct contact or line of sight. Ground sensors need to be placed on or near the anomaly. Cameras need visible light or heat signatures to pick something up. But an atmospheric anomaly, something that might not emit light, heat, or any obvious physical signature, is incredibly difficult to study using those methods. Doppler radar changes the entire approach. Instead of looking for something visible, it's designed to detect subtle movement and disturbance in the air itself, which means it has the potential to pick up on something that's been sitting right above this property, completely undetected this entire time. And that idea alone is worth sitting with for a second. The bubble isn't some brand new discovery. It's something the team has talked about for a while, a known anomaly that's simply been out of reach until now. So when this episode's summary says the team uncovers brand new, unexplained phenomena hidden in plain sight right above the property, it hits differently than a typical new discovery. This isn't something that suddenly appeared. It's something that's been there all along, waiting for someone to finally have the right equipment pointed at exactly the right spot. So let's walk through what this experiment actually looks like. The team sets up the Doppler radar system with one clear goal in mind: to get real measurable data on the bubble for the very first time. This isn't a casual test. Given how long this anomaly has gone unexplained, there's a real sense of anticipation here. The team has theories. They have years of context about this area of the ranch, but they don't have hard data. Not yet. And that's exactly what this episode sets out to change. As the radar starts collecting information, the team is watching closely for any kind of unusual reading, any sign that something is actually moving, shifting, or behaving strangely within that atmospheric zone. This is where the tension of the episode really builds, because unlike a live sighting you can react to instantly, radar data takes interpretation. It takes patience. The team has to study what's coming back, compare it to normal atmospheric behavior, and figure out whether what they're seeing is simply weather, wind, birds, or something else entirely. Something that doesn't fit any conventional explanation at all. And based on the summary, that's exactly what happens. The experiment doesn't just confirm the existence of something unusual, it uncovers brand new phenomena. Not just one strange reading, but new, unexplained activity that nobody on the team had documented before. That's a huge deal for an investigation that's been running for 7 seasons. After all this time, after everything they've already studied on this property, there's still something new hiding directly above them. Something that's apparently been there the whole time, simply waiting for the right instrument to reveal it. Let's slow down and really think about what it means for something to be hidden in plain sight. It's one thing to discover a new anomaly in a remote, unexplored section of the ranch. It's a completely different thing to discover that something strange has been happening directly above a location the team already knows well. That kind of discovery forces a reevaluation of everything that's happened in that area before. Was this phenomenon influencing past investigations without anyone realizing it? Has it been quietly present during other experiments, invisible to the equipment used at the time, but potentially playing a role in results the team couldn't fully explain? These are exactly the kinds of questions this episode raises, even if it doesn't answer all of them outright. There's something almost poetic about using radar, a technology built to track storms and rain, to instead uncover a mystery that has nothing to do with weather at all. It's a reminder that sometimes the right breakthrough doesn't come from inventing something entirely new. It comes from repurposing an existing tool and pointing it somewhere nobody thought to aim it before. The team didn't need to build brand new technology from scratch to make this discovery. They needed to look at an old, familiar mystery through a completely different lens, and that shift in approach is what finally cracked it open. As the investigation unfolds throughout the episode, you can expect the team to dig deeper into what these new radar readings actually mean. Is this atmospheric activity constant, or does it come and go? Does it correlate with anything else happening on the property at the same time? These are the kinds of follow-up questions that naturally come out of a discovery like this. And while we won't get ahead of the episode by speculating on answers that haven't been shared, it's clear that this experiment opens up a whole new area of investigation for the team going forward. What makes On the Radar stand out this season is how it reframes something the audience already thought they understood. The bubble has been mentioned before, sitting quietly in the background of this show's larger story, but it's never been the main focus, and it's certainly never been studied with equipment this precise. Tonight, that changes. And the fact that something brand new turns up almost immediately once the right tool gets pointed at it says a lot about how much may still be hiding across other parts of this property, simply waiting for the right technology to finally notice it. By the end of this episode, you're left with a very different picture of the sky above Skinwalker Ranch than the one you probably walked in with. What once seemed like empty air above a strange patch of land turns out to be anything but empty. There's activity up there. Real, measurable, radar-confirmed activity that doesn't have an explanation yet. And for a show that spent 7 seasons digging into the ground, the fences, the structures, and the open fields of this ranch, turning the investigation upward into the sky itself, feels like a genuinely fresh direction. Let's talk a bit more about why the team would choose Doppler radar specifically, out of all the equipment available to them at this point. Over the years, this investigation has used a huge range of tools. Ground-penetrating radar for subsurface anomalies, magnetometers for magnetic field disturbances, infrared cameras for heat signatures, and countless other instruments designed to catch something that the human eye simply can't. But atmospheric anomalies present a unique challenge. Something strange is happening in the air itself. Rather than on the ground or beneath it, most of those tools simply aren't built for the job. Doppler radar, on the other hand, is specifically designed to track movement through open air across a wide area, which makes it one of the few instruments genuinely suited to studying something like the bubble in a meaningful way. There's also a practical advantage here that's worth pointing out. Doppler radar doesn't require the anomaly to behave in any particular way to be detected. It doesn't need heat, light, or a physical object to bounce a signal off of in the way a camera would. It simply needs movement, some kind of disturbance in the air that differs from the surrounding atmosphere. That's an important distinction, because it means the team isn't relying on the bubble to reveal itself visually or thermally. They're relying on it to move or to cause something around it to move differently than expected. And radar is built to catch exactly that kind of subtle shift. Now, let's think about the setup itself for a moment, because deploying radar technology on a property like this isn't as simple as just switching on a machine and waiting for something to happen. The team almost certainly has to carefully calibrate the equipment first, establishing what normal, expected atmospheric activity looks like over the ranch before they can identify anything as truly anomalous. Without that baseline, any unusual reading could just as easily be explained away as wind, weather, or wildlife. So a huge part of this episode likely involves the team methodically ruling out ordinary explanations before they can confidently say they've found something genuinely unexplained. That kind of careful, deliberate process is part of what makes this investigation credible, even when the results end up sounding extraordinary. It would be easy for a show like this to jump straight to the most dramatic possible interpretation of any strange reading. But based on how this team has approached investigations across 6 previous seasons, you can expect a much more grounded process here, one built on elimination and verification rather than jumping to conclusions. And that makes it even more significant when the summary confirms that what they find genuinely can't be explained by ordinary atmospheric behavior. It's also worth considering what it means for this kind of phenomenon to have gone undetected for so long. The bubble isn't a brand new concept introduced in this episode. It's something that's existed in the background of this investigation for a while now, discussed but never fully studied with precision equipment. That raises an interesting question. How many other subtle anomalies might still be sitting quietly across this property, simply because nobody has aimed the right tool at the right spot yet? This episode doesn't just answer a question about the bubble. It hints at something bigger. The possibility that this ranch still has layers of mystery that haven't even been detected yet, let alone explained. As the radar data comes in and the team starts analyzing it, You can imagine the atmosphere in the room shifting from routine data collection to genuine excitement, or maybe even a little unease. There's a particular kind of moment in this kind of investigation. The moment when a screen full of numbers and waveforms suddenly stops looking random and starts looking like a pattern. That's the moment this episode seems to be building toward, based on everything shared in the summary. Not a single dramatic event, but a growing realization, reading by reading, that something is genuinely happening up there that doesn't fit any known explanation. Once that realization sets in, the natural next step for any investigative team is to ask what comes next. Does this data lead to a follow-up experiment? Does it change how the team approaches other parts of the property going forward? While we won't speculate beyond what's actually been provided about this episode, it's reasonable to expect that a discovery this significant doesn't just end when the credits roll. It likely sets the stage for further investigation, possibly even shaping episodes later in the season. There's also a broader theme worth touching on here. Something that ties this episode back into the larger story this show has been telling since it began. Skinwalker Ranch has always been described as a place where ordinary rules don't seem to fully apply, where the ground, the sky, and everything in between seems to behave just slightly differently than it should. Episode after episode, season after season, this investigation keeps finding new ways to demonstrate that idea, and On the Radar adds another compelling piece to that pattern. It's not just that something strange is happening on this property, it's that the strangeness seems to exist in layers, some visible, some hidden, and some, like the bubble, apparently sitting quietly above everyone's heads the entire time. For longtime viewers, this episode also offers a bit of a fresh perspective on just how much of this investigation has been ground-focused up until now. Think about how many episodes over the years have centered on digging, drilling, walking fields, and examining structures. All of that work has been incredibly valuable, but it's all been rooted, quite literally, in the earth. On the Radar flips that focus entirely, asking the audience and the team to look up instead of down. And given what the summary reveals about brand new phenomena being uncovered, that shift in perspective seems to have paid off almost immediately. By the time this episode wraps up, you're left with a very different sense of what the sky above the ranch actually means. It's no longer just empty space above a strange piece of land. It's an active, measurable part of the mystery, one that Radar has just begun to map out. And if this episode is any indication, that mapping process is likely just getting started. One more thing worth mentioning before we wrap this up. Episodes like this one tend to matter more in hindsight than they do in the moment. A dramatic sighting is exciting the second it happens, but its significance can fade fast once the episode ends. A discovery like this, one built on hard radar data rather than a fleeting visual, tends to stick around. It becomes a reference point. Future episodes may end up circling back to this exact data set, comparing new findings against what was captured tonight, using this moment as a baseline for understanding whatever comes next in this part of the investigation. That's really the value of an episode like On the Radar. It's not flashy in the traditional sense. There's no chase, no dramatic confrontation, no single unforgettable image burned into your memory the moment the episode ends. What it offers instead is something arguably more valuable to an investigation that's been running for 7 seasons. Real, measurable, repeatable data about something that's been a mystery for a long time. And once you have data like that, you have a foundation to build on, something the team can return to again and again as they keep peeling back the layers of what's happening on this property. So when you settle in to watch this one, don't go in expecting a jump scare moment. Go in expecting a slow build, a careful, methodical experiment that pays off with a genuinely surprising result. Watch how the team reacts as the radar data starts coming in. Watch how their questions shift from, "Is there anything here?" to, "What exactly are we looking at?" That shift from uncertainty to confirmed anomaly is really the emotional core of this episode, and it's worth paying close attention to as it happens. That's our breakdown of Season 7, Episode 11 of The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch. New technology, an old mystery, and a discovery that was apparently sitting right above the team's heads this entire time. If this one's got you curious, make sure you watch the full episode to see exactly what the radar picks up and how the team reacts to it. And once you have, drop a comment and let us know what you think is happening inside that bubble. This is exactly the kind of episode worth revisiting once later episodes reveal how this discovery ends up connecting to the rest of the season. So keep it in mind as the story keeps unfolding. A quiet radar reading tonight could turn out to be the very thread that ties together several bigger mysteries down the line. And that possibility alone makes this an episode worth watching closely. Start to finish, without skipping ahead, and without underestimating just how much a single new data set can end up reshaping everything the team thought they already understood about this property. Let us know in the comments what you think is actually inside that bubble, and whether you believe this radar breakthrough is genuinely the start of something much bigger for this entire investigation moving forward. Until next time, stay curious, and we'll catch you in the next breakdown.